Good morning. It is the morning of day 5, I believe. It's crazy to say that. Got a couple miles in so far. I think my earliest start this morning. I've been starting between 6 and 6:30 every morning, and today I think I got out at like 6:04. So nice early start. Excited about my first real town day. So I've never had that experience before on the Appalachian Trail. We've walked through some towns and that sort of thing, but never gotten in and gotten a hotel, and that's what I'm gonna do. I was kind of on the fence, but trying to listen to my body, take it a little bit slow early on, and then also Two Foot Adventures is there, an outfitter where I can buy a new air mat if I'm unable to patch mine. So that's the plan. Get a hotel room, use the bathtub, try to locate that pinhole leak that's in a place where I can patch it, and blow it up and see if it holds air. If it does, great. If not, then I'm already in a place where I can buy a new one and stop waking up every couple hours on the ground, because it's not the end of the world. I'm still getting decent sleep, but it's not your first choice. Yesterday was probably the warmest day we've had on trail so far. Just so you can kind of see the view, we're getting ready to go behind a mountain where it's gonna go away, but this is what I've been having the privilege and joy of looking at all morning. So also, if I run into any rocks, I'm just gonna stop and look straight at the camera. This trail's got a bit of a steep runoff on the side of it, but it's fairly well manicured right here, and it's got a pretty easy path. But if that changes, we'll be stopping. So don't worry, Mama. And I'm gonna be looking down mostly, probably not at the camera. Yesterday was a little bit toasty, but it's funny. I still don't think I struggled as much with the heat yesterday as I did the first couple days or at least the first day on our Appalachian Trail trip in the middle of April in Pennsylvania. It was definitely warmer and just as exposed there as it is here. Different landscape out there, but it was before spring had sprung, and there wasn't really any leaves on the trees to provide coverage. So we are making it through. Got a great camp spot last night. I actually took a bad step yesterday while I was on the phone, which I'm just reminding myself I need to pay attention. If you do about 50,000 steps a day, which is probably a lower estimate, and you have about 100 total hiking days, not including zeros and neros and all that, that's about 5 million steps, and one real bad one can end your trip. So just remembering to be careful and make sure that I'm paying attention to foot placement and that sort of thing. So I took a bad step. I didn't fall or anything like that. In fact, I didn't think much of it at all while I was hiking, but it was with a couple miles left in the day. And when it happened, I just kept walking, and it just kept nagging me for the rest of the day. And then I got to camp, and I couldn't sit cross-legged when I was cooking, because the outside of my foot, it's the very outside of my left foot, is a bit tender. But I slept, and overnight I feel way better. I can barely even tell that there's anything going on there now. So that's good news. I was a little bit concerned about that. What I did want to talk about a little bit was just right now I'm going right over the 70-mile mark. I got about 6 or 7 miles into town, Scissors Crossing, where I'll hitch into Julian. So that'll be my first hitchhike, new experience there. We'll see how it goes. And that puts me just over the 70-mile mark, which means this is now the furthest I've ever gone on a continuous backpacking trip. And I've got 2,000 miles left to go, 2,600 miles left to go thereabouts. So, just barely getting started. And I think kind of the gravity of how big, how long, how much of a commitment this trip is kind of hit me this morning. And I started to get a little emotional. All good things, good feelings, but a little bit of fear there as well. This is a new experience, something that I haven't done, haven't gone out and had any experience even close to this. I've never resupplied, I've never hitched, I've never gone more than about 70 miles in one straight go. So I don't know. I don't think being out here has really hit me all at one time. I think it's been little bits and little pieces. And another one of them was this morning. I was thinking about that scene in Fellowship of the Ring. And when Sam and Frodo are walking, and Sam just stops abruptly. He says, "This is it, Frodo. If I take one more step, I'll be further away from home than I've ever been before." And for me, that's kind of what it felt like this morning. Obviously, Campo, California is not my home, but this is the furthest I've ever been on trail. And I'm out here by myself, but with a bunch of other people, with God, with some beautiful scenery. And I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I got to make sure that I'm careful, that I make smart and wise decisions, that I watch my step, all of the things. But so far so good. So we're going to keep pressing onward. I don't know if I'll check in Julian or not, or maybe the following day. Tomorrow's going to be kind of brutal. For the first time on gut hooks or far out, the guide that you look at tells you where your water sources, towns, and all those things are going to be. Said the next water is 22 miles from where I camped last night, which is not the biggest in the desert, but it's a good one. Luckily, Julian's about 8 or 9 miles after that, which cuts that down tremendously. But coming out of Julian is going to be uphill. I probably won't get as early of a start as I'd like, because I'm going to have to hitch out tomorrow morning. And I'm going to have a heavy pack with a food resupply and enough water to get me probably about 14 miles or so. So that's going to suck. But it's all good. It's part of the journey. Sometimes we have that type 1 fun, which is what most of the trip has been so far. Sometimes it's type 2. And that'll probably be what tomorrow morning is. But that's all right. We'll struggle through and make it one way or the other, and that's part of the adventure. So I'm gonna sign off. I'll talk with you later. Good morning. It is day 6. Technically knee road yesterday, but it ended up not being much of a knee row. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. Got an early start this morning. Just went by a couple hikers, just had a nice conversation with a woman named Angie, and enjoying the trail before the sun gets up and is too brutal. I am still just amazed at what this trail looks like. Beautiful every turn in and out, it seems. Haven't eaten my breakfast yet, but have gotten, I don't know, probably about 3, maybe 4 miles in. I'm not sure. Haven't looked at the map in a little while, but got a 14-mile water carry, and I think I listened a little bit too much to other people in fear-mongering. Well, I wouldn't call it fear-mongering. It was all well-intentioned, but some of the trail angels were talking about how this section coming out of Scissors Crossing is really exposed, and it's a bit of a climb and a long carry, and a lot of people do it at night or do it super early, and figured I'd get it done super early. That's more my style. So yesterday, going into Julian, I actually didn't end up having to hitch. I got to Scissors Crossing, went under the bridge. There was some trail magic there. Lieutenant Dan was there, and getting ready to leave, actually went to not a great spot to hitchhike. Wasn't much place to pull over, and before I even got a chance to figure that out, I heard someone yelling, "Come get in the car!" And there was a trail angel by the name of Fossil in Pillsbury. They were getting ready to head back to Julian, and it turns out Pillsbury is the owner of 2 Foot Adventures and the store there in town. So that was kind of cool. Got to meet her and hang out for a little bit on the car ride back. And yeah, Julian was really nice, really pleasant. Got a great meal in town. There wasn't any hotels with any vacancy, so me and a couple of German guys, one of which I've been spending the past few nights with, decided we were just going to stay at the American Legion. They let you stay for free and just ask that if you eat there, you tip them well. And so I thought that was cool. That was originally the plan. Didn't have a bathtub to try to find the leak in my air mattress, so I asked them, and they obliged on a bucket and some soap. Found a hole, patched it up, and headed down to the RV park Stagecoach, and ended up kind of changing plans. Some hikers that I'd spent the night with a couple of nights ago up in Mount Laguna at the campgrounds up there were down, and they were heading up there, and $12 for a spot to stay, a hot shower, and coin laundry. So did that, did laundry, got a shower, and then was kind of thinking about it and figured it'd be difficult to get a hitch from the RV park too early in the morning. And it was about a 4-mile road walk, but that's how my Nero turned into not much of a Nero. Trail mileage wise, it's definitely still a Nero, but 4-mile road walk back to Scissors. And then I spent the night underneath the bridge there, just cowboy camping, and woke up at about 5 o'clock and got back on the trail. And my pad that I thought was patched is still leaking. So that kind of stinks. We'll see. I think I properly patched the hole that I found, which means there might be more than one hole. So current game plan is to look tonight, see if I can find it. I don't have soap and water, so my prospects are probably not very good. If I can't find it, it seems like this leak has slowed down, so I think there were a couple, and I got one of them. So if I can't find the leak or the other leak, then I don't want to. I have an identical air mattress back home that I could have my brother send me, but I think instead of doing that, I'll probably just buy a closed cell foam mat in in Idlewild. So just deal with this pad for a few more days, and then Nomad Ventures is in Idlewild, and I should be able to get a mat there. My concern with having my brother send one to me is that I'll just keep popping all the air mattresses, and they're not cheap. So a $45, $50 closed cell foam mat that's pretty close to indestructible. If I can sleep on it, then that'll be great, but it's not always the easiest thing to do. We're popping out from around the little inlet or valley of the mountain. I was hoping that we could see the bridge that I stayed under, but I'm not sure if we're going to or not. I think this is about as far out as we're coming, and no, you can't. But right down there in that valley, just on the other side there's a bridge that I stayed under last night, so that was a new experience. But it's a beautiful day. My pack's not too terribly heavy. Doing the carry in the morning, I've just got 2.5 liters. I think that's going to be just fine for 14 miles. I cameled up and drank a good amount of water at the water cache underneath the bridge before I left. Probably drank about a liter or so. So haven't touched my water yet, and probably about 4 miles in. So I think the 2.5 liters will be just fine to get me there. I'm gonna try and hit about 20 miles today. That leaves me with, I think, about 12 to get to Warner Springs, where I have another resupply box just with a couple days food. And that should carry me to Paradise Valley Cafe, where I'll pick up my snow equipment. And then I get to see how I fare in the San Jacinto range. It's pretty snowy down there, so we are up there. So we'll see how that goes. But it's all part of the adventure. I'm gonna make the best decisions that I can with the information that I have, but I also feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice if I listen too much to fear mongering and change my plans based on that. For the most part, I want to see the trail conditions and decide for myself whether it's something I think I can tackle or whether it's something that I should turn around and head back. Last thing I kind of wanted to talk about, then I'll shut up, because good God, these videos are all turning into long ones. I guess I've just got a lot to say. But I kind of feel like a nut coming out doing a 4-mile road walk in the night to get on the trail early and things like that. It seems like most folks out here, at least right now, and it makes sense, don't have much of a sense of urgency, and maybe I shouldn't either. But I've just got it always in the back of my mind that just because it was a big winter doesn't mean that there's not going to be a big fire season. And the Sierras, if they're passable, if we don't have to flip up and do that sort of hike here, hike there kind of game, if we can have a continuous path north, it's going to take a long time to get through them. So I guess just kind of trying to race the clock already. Not really race, but just being mindful. You know, I'm still not doing crazy mileage. I'll probably increase that here in a couple of days, but probably another 20 today, another 20 tomorrow, and then start increasing after that. But a lot of folks were zeroing in Julian, and I didn't realize, just because I hadn't thought about it, zero actually requires 2 hotel stays. Either that, or you just camp right outside of town and head in and then get a hotel. But if you're staying there all day and not hiking any at all, that kind of requires a place to stay on both ends, you know, the night before and that night. So not sure how much zeroing will do. I'm feeling fantastic. Feet, legs, body, everything's feeling pretty good. And I'm gonna keep rolling with it and listening to my body. I haven't taken a single painkiller yet. I was thinking about it that night that I bruised the side of my foot, but woke up yesterday morning, it was fine, and it's not bugging me anymore at all today. So I'm not dampening the signals, and the signals are, at least right now, telling me onward, keep on hiking. So that's what I'm gonna keep doing. Until next time. Good morning. It is a little bit earlier than I normally do this. I've kind of gotten into a routine, which I want to talk about in just a little bit, but I'll show you why I'm breaking my routine. Just wanted to share this experience with you. It's fucking beautiful out here, and just overwhelmed right now with sense of gratitude and awe, and being able to be out here and be a part of it. Like I said, I'm starting to get a little bit of a routine, which feels good. We're all creatures of habit, and I am no exception to that. So this is my favorite part of every day. I mean, this in particular, with that overlook, and seeing the Undercast Valley there, is really hard to beat. But just this time of morning in particular, from when I get on the trail for the first couple of hours until the sun really comes up, it just feels different. It feels quiet. The birds are chirping. It feels like nature's just kind of waking up, and it's cool to be a part of that. I gotta give a big thanks to my brother on the Appalachian Trail. He always wants to get those early miles in, and he's right. The early miles are the easiest, and they're the most beautiful and the most enjoyable in my experience. Routine, yeah. So I've been waking up at about 5:30 most days. A couple exceptions. I woke up at 5 o'clock yesterday. Got on trail just a little bit earlier, but normally waking up right at 5:30. Getting on trail between 6 and 6:30, depending on how quickly I'm moving in the morning. Today was no exception. Got on about 6:16. And, oh my gosh. For the first bit, just spending some time in prayer and meditation, some quiet time, so to speak, and enjoying the views. They're not always this spectacular, but they're always good. And after a couple of hours of that, just spending some time being quiet, thinking, contemplating, maybe not necessarily an intentional meditation. What I've really liked about being out here is that I have a brain that runs wild, and I've got so much time out here to think that I don't need to guide my mind, if that makes sense. So I wake up and I kind of have some ideas of what I want to do, talk to God, pray, eat some food, and my mind wanders. Sometimes it takes me 2 hours to get through the simple, prayers that I would normally do in 5 minutes back home, because I see something and my brain starts wandering, and I just allow that to happen. So that's pretty cool. So normally hike, get as many miles in early as I can. Try to get 10 before 10. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Don't beat myself up about it either way, because normally if it doesn't happen, that means I've been getting great views like this and stopping a little bit more often to enjoy it. So all to the good either way. After 10 or 11 o'clock, I slow down a little bit on the hiking. That's when it really starts to warm up. The sun starts to become an issue. Make sure I put some sunscreen on around that time. Mostly protected by clothing, but my hands, my legs, my lips, and the upper part of my cheeks all need a little bit of sunscreen, just to make sure that we're keeping that under control as well. And then hike for another couple hours. Normally eating lunch around 1 o'clock-ish, plus or minus. Those miles are a little bit slower intentionally, trying to keep that heart rate down, keep from sweating too much in the heat of the day. Don't want to overexert myself, which haven't had any issues with that so far. And after lunch, knock out however many miles I need to get to camp. Normally, 5 or less, which has been cool. I've been doing 20s for this first week. Today is day 7. Now that I think of it, I should be passing the 100-mile mark kind of soon. So at least within the next mile or two, we'll see if we're on camera for that or not. So after that, get to camp, get camp set up, with a little bit of dinner. If I'm with other hikers, hang out. If not, hang out by myself, which I'm okay with too. Normally going to bed right around the time the sun sets, so I can wake up early and start it all over again. Obviously things change a little bit if there's town. Going into Warner Springs today just to pick up a box, and also gonna try and dry some stuff out, I think. So you saw that beautiful undercast sunset, but What you didn't see was the negative that comes along with that. It was a really, really wet night, condensation wise. It was just temperature below the dew point, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist, but what I do know is that I woke up and everything was wet, and then I peed and went back to sleep, and then I woke up again and everything was wet again, even wetter. So a little bit slower getting out of camp this morning, trying to squeegee everything off with my little Swedish dishcloth that I got. Got everything at least relatively dry. My down isn't saturated, it's just the outer material is pretty wet and maybe just a little bit of moisture there, so I'm not too worried about it. If I wasn't stopping into town, I'd just try to set up camp early while the sun's still up, let the sun hit it a little bit, and then probably dry it off. And in fact, if they don't have laundry available for a reasonable price, I might do that anyways. But this first week, only knocking out 20 miles a day, I've had a little bit of extra time anyways, and have been intentionally going a little bit slower in the evening. So finding something to do that's productive, that'll kill time, that'll make my life a little easier later down the trail, probably a good thing to do. So that's the game plan today. Also today, I should be passing Eagle Rock at mile 106, so probably here in just a couple of hours. And that's one of the pretty cool iconic take a photo moments on the PCT, so that'll be fun. So I think that's about it. I don't have a whole lot else profound to say other than it's a beautiful world, and I'm glad to be out here. I guess one last story. So you can see the sun has already risen over there. I did get a couple of photos, not with a true undercast valley like that, because if you see the valley that's undercast is kind of to my north and the sun's kind of, to my east, so not one behind the other. But back, oh man, it must have been 10 years ago. It was one of the very early trips that me and my brother took on the Appalachian Trail. We were worried about miles. That was back when we thought 10 was a solid day and 14 was huge. And honestly, one of my worst days hiking. We had 40-pound packs, we had Walmart boots, and we were taping each other's ankles up to avoid blisters in the morning. We were just doing everything wrong and we didn't know it, but we were out there having fun. Or maybe more type 2 fun than it should have been, but we were out there at the very least. So my point with all that is that we had gotten started. I think that was the night that I was still using hydration bladders and something was leaning on my tube, so we were low on water and just things weren't going well, and we didn't know the trick to just put your phone on airplane mode, not turn it all the way off, and our phones were in the backpack, not easily accessible and turned off. And we came up to this overlook. It was in I don't know if it was truly the Shenandoah Valley. It might have been south of Shenandoah, south of Waynesboro, but it was in that central Virginia region of the Appalachian Trail. And we saw this beautiful, absolutely beautiful, I've never seen one this pretty, undercast sunrise. It was so cool. The mountains on the other side in Jefferson National Park, I believe it is, just looked like islands coming out of this ocean of clouds. And the clouds were so smooth and so calm on the top. It just looked like an ocean of clouds. It was potentially the most beautiful scene I've ever seen, at least in Virginia on the Appalachian Trail. I can say that with pretty much absolute certainty. And we didn't take a picture of it. I still remember it, and it was great, but I didn't get a picture, so I haven't been able to share that with others. So anytime I get a chance to take a look at something like this, I normally try to. So, well, I've stopped. I was getting ready to turn the recorder off, and look at what we found. I hope you can see that. Yeah, 100-mile mark. That feels good. I know That's just under a 26th of the way there for the whole trail. So I'm not going to celebrate too much yet. But every milestone's a small victory, you know? And that's the first one, the first centennial. So well, I think I'm about out of things to say. So I'm going to keep spending a little bit of quiet time out here myself. But just wanted to share that view with you in that moment. And 100 miles down, Eagle Rock and Warner Springs later today. And it's going to be another good day on the PCT. Oh, I meant to say, I finally fixed that leaking ground mat. It turns out that where the leak was and where the puncture was that I fixed a couple of days ago on the bottom of it, it had punctured so good that it was punctured all the way through the top too. So put a little patch on the top of the pad right there, and it held perfectly last night. So even though I was waking up because things were wet, I at least didn't have to pump up my pad in the middle of the night. So little victories. So until next time. Good morning. It is day 8 on the trail. At 6 o'clock this evening, I'll officially have been out here for 1 week. And all in all, I'm feeling pretty good. I got a couple of blisters, one on each foot on my toe. Same toe, same spot, so I think it's just about the way that my toes come together when I go downhill or side hill, which is interesting. I like these shoes and the way that they feel a lot more than the Lone Peaks when I'm doing any sort of side hilling or something like that, because there's less room for them to move around, but we'll see. Got some Leuco tape on them right now, and they're not bugging me at all. Didn't bug me hardly at all yesterday. Just something to be aware of and keep up on. The biggest danger for blisters out here is how they can, if you don't keep up with them and keep them clean, if they pop, they can turn into infection. So I've got soap and water, and I know what infection looks like, so if it becomes a problem, we'll get her addressed. But right now, so far, so good. Other than that, I've just got one on the back right of my right heel, and that one's not too hateful. Got some Leuco tape on it as well. But for having, oh gosh, 120 plus miles done, that's not terrible. So here's what we're looking at this morning. I had a beautiful view where I was sleeping. Got into camp a little bit late. Let's talk a little bit about yesterday. So yesterday we got Eagle Rocks in the morning. Went into Warner Springs. Oh, there was beautiful undercast valley. I talked about that in the last video, so I won't drone on about it, but got into Warner Springs about 11:30. Got to talk with my brother, my guy in the chair. If you haven't seen Spider-Man, that's a reference there. Go back and catch it. But he's coordinating everything for me, and he's doing a fabulous job. And I was having issues with getting reliable Wi-Fi to upload all my photos to the Google Drive folder that I'm using to share the pictures and videos with other folks that are curious and interested in what I'm doing out here. So he figured out a workaround. He already went to Micro Center, got what he needed, tested it, tried it out, and he's sending it off to me. And so we'll be back on track. And then he's also going to be sending me another power bank. My current power bank is doing all it can, but my phone is a little bit more battery hungry than I anticipated. So it's a new processor they put in the Pixel 6 versus the Pixel 5, and it is a little bit inefficient and power hungry, so draining through battery substantially faster than I thought, even though I'm not using my phone, with the exception of these videos, hardly any more than I would on one of my normal AT trips. So got a little view of a what I believe is Apache Peak, or at least the San Jacinto Mountains this morning. Looks like substantially less snow on there than there was when I saw it a few days ago in Cleveland National Forest. So that's all to the good. Hung out in Warner Springs yesterday for about 3.5 hours with a trail angel that goes by the name of Off Trail. He gave us a ride back, and like a psycho, I went and tagged where I had left off, so still have those continuous footsteps. I know that's gonna change, and I was actually gonna just go the other way. It was only a couple of tenths of a mile back to where, and in my mind I thought it'd be good to get this footstep path broken immediately, not be a complete purist, and have that weight off my back. And I even went, there were these metal gates that he had to go through and lock and shut because it was a livestock area, and I even went through there on the northbound side, and as soon as I shut the gate I thought, I'm gonna go back, and that's what I did. So far I'm as pure can be. It's the PCT. I know it's not gonna stay that way. There will be closures and skips and reroutes, and with the Sierras and what they're doing, that'll just add to the confusion and the chaos. But right now I've got a continuous footpath, so that is for what it is. But at Warner Springs I got to hang out with a pretty cool trail family. I think there were about 6 of them there. They had a couple more. They said we're a little behind them, straggling in. So that was a lot of fun. Hung out with them from 11:30 until 3. Took a nice little siesta, tried out my gear from condensation the night before, and got my resupply. Got a couple kill bosses at the mini mart there. Got back on trail, and they stopped after about 4 miles. I stopped for a moment with a couple of them, and there was some water there. There was some talk of possibly getting in. I scouted it out, and looked like maybe nice for putting your feet in, but that was about it. Not really a swimming area. So I kept on moving, and each time I make that decision and keep on moving, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. But so far, no regrets after the fact, even though it was a little bit hard during that time when, you find some cool people, could be your trail friends, and then you move on. But they weren't. What they were doing was not really in line with the mileage that I have in mind. And this early on, I don't really want to change up what I'm doing. I've talked about this before, so I won't drone on, but everybody, myself included, is kind of right now, early on, trying to figure out what's right for them, routine, and mileage, and all of that. So it's a little bit of steep up right here, so I'm going to stop for just a second and catch my breath. I don't normally do that, but it's hard to talk and walk at the same time when you're going uphill. I don't think there's a whole lot else that I wanted to touch on. Got in pretty late last night, just as the sun was going down, and everybody was going to bed, so didn't really talk to anyone much at camp, and I was the first one out like I normally am. Oh yeah, it was a little slow start this morning after getting on trail. I'm not going to go into detail on much poop stuff on this, at least not right now. Who knows, I might change my mind. But what I will say is that I had the closest call I've ever had to going in my britches, and I don't think I'll ever be eating flaming hot Cheeto noodles again. That's what I had for dinner last night, and I think that was the culprit. So I hope it's at least mostly out of my system, but probably not. So we we will see how that goes. But I won't get into any further detail than I have already. So today, potentially a long water carry. Depends on if there's water at Mike's place. There's a guy by the name of Mike who has a ranch that borders the PCT, and he normally stocks some water, but some of the comments on far out or gut hooks is making it seem like he hasn't been there for a little while. So we shall see. I got enough water and I started early enough that I can do the 17 miles I need to with what I've got on me. But sure would be nice to be able to camel up a little bit and fill back up. I think he's about 8 miles from where I started. So we'll see from where I left. I've got 30 miles to Paradise Valley Cafe. I'm gonna try and knock out between 20 and 25 of those today. Get myself either a breakfast burrito, a burger, or both at Paradise Valley Cafe tomorrow. And then I start my ascent into the San Jacinto Mountains and Apache Peak and Fuller Ridge. So there we are. Onward, northward, and I know things are gonna get harder as I go. But right now, it's hard to beat, you know, hiking and just being able to look out and enjoy God's beauty. So until next time. I'm not sure if you can see it from here, probably not, but there's a little rattler right behind that rock. He's pretty agitated, so I'm gonna keep my distance. He's not real big, but yep, you can see. As soon as I pop my head out, he is rearing his head back and rattling. So we are gonna keep our distance from that guy.